July 15, 2013, marked the beginning of a tale that would shock the quiet American suburb of Greenville. The Dubai Sheikh, a man of immense wealth and enigmatic aura, arrived in the city accompanied by his entourage. His luxurious black limousine glided down the pristine streets, the late summer sun reflecting off its glossy finish. As he stepped out, locals couldn't help but watch his every move. The Sheikh, tall and imposing, wore a finely tailored suit, his calm demeanor belying the storm that was to come. His presence, dark yet alluring, quickly became the talk of the town. Accompanying him was his young Indian bride, a stark contrast to his towering figure. She was a vision of delicate beauty, her dark eyes filled with hope and naivety as she stepped onto American soil. The bride's traditional attire clashed with the modernity around her, a symbol of her inner conflict and the complexity of her new life. The couple's arrival at a sprawling mansion on the outskirts of town set the stage for a life of opulence, yet the quiet whispers among the servants hinted at dark secrets lurking beneath the surface. The mansion itself was a masterpiece of architecture, combining Middle Eastern opulence with Western modernity. Its grand halls and shadowed corridors hinted at hidden passages and untold stories. As the weeks passed, the Sheikh's pristine exterior began to show cracks. Financial pressures, cultural clashes, and the weight of his past hung over their marriage like a dark cloud. His bride, eager to adapt and please him, was drawn into a world of secrets and whispers that contrasted sharply with her innocence. Despite their grand lifestyle, the couple was under immense pressure. The opulent parties thrown at their mansion masked a tense atmosphere, where smiles rarely reached the eyes, and conversations were laced with undercurrents of mistrust. The neighbors, fascinated and fearful, began to speculate about what truly lay behind the closed doors of the mansion. It wasn't long before someone from their past began to cast shadows over their present. Rumors of betrayal, hidden identities, and long-forgotten grudges reached their ears, planting seeds of doubt. The Sheikh and his bride were at the center of a storm they could neither see coming nor control, as events that would forever change their lives began to take shape in the shadows. In this seemingly peaceful American suburb, an undercurrent of danger was beginning to stir. The stage was set for a tragedy that would unravel the lives of everyone involved, starting a chain of events fueled by secrets, deception, and a thirst for revenge. The first few weeks of the Sheikh's marriage in Greenville were marked by an uneasy tension that permeated the lavish halls of the mansion. Beneath the glittering chandeliers and opulent decor, whispers of discontent and hidden agendas began to circulate among the household staff and acquaintances. The once promising union was already showing signs of strain as cultural clashes and unspoken suspicions brewed in the shadows. The young Indian bride, still adjusting to her new life, sensed that something was amiss. She moved through the luxurious spaces with a mixture of awe and trepidation, feeling watched by unseen eyes. She tried to navigate the complex social landscape of high society, where guests and family members exchanged polite pleasantries laced with veiled threats. At gatherings, murmurs about the Sheikh's past and speculations about his hidden intentions created an undercurrent of fear. Though the Sheikh attempted to maintain control and composure, cracks in his facade began to show. He would spend long hours alone in his study, poring over documents and making cryptic phone calls. The bride, curious and increasingly worried, would hear hushed arguments from behind closed doors and catch glimpses of shadowy figures in the corners of her vision. These unsettling experiences hinted at a world of secrets that she was now entangled in. As time passed, the community around them became intrigued by the enigmatic couple. Neighbors whispered about the Sheikh's influence and the bride's sudden influx into a world of luxury that seemed both alluring and dangerous. The local journalist, always on the lookout for a sensational story, began circling the mansion, keen to uncover any hint of scandal. Hidden rivalries and past alliances began to emerge. Friends who once offered congratulations now exchanged furtive glances laden with secrets. The bride discovered encrypted letters and strange artifacts in her new home, reminders that the Sheikh had connections stretching far beyond their world. It became clear that their marriage was not just a union of two souls but a strategic alliance with dangerous implications. One evening, while exploring a rarely used wing of the mansion, the bride found herself face to face with an old family portrait that hinted at dark legacies. The eyes in the painting seemed to follow her, a silent testament to generational grievances. The realization dawned on her: she was part of a complex power play, and her role was perhaps not as voluntary as she thought. Rumors of betrayal began to seep into her consciousness as she learned more about the Sheikh's previous life in Dubai. Some whispered that the Sheikh had made deals with dangerous individuals, and that his marriage to her might have been orchestrated as a way to secure certain alliances or settle old scores. The bride, caught between loyalty and fear, found herself in a precarious position. Meanwhile, strange visitors began to frequent the mansion. A mysterious man in a tailored suit would appear unexpectedly, his cold gaze lingering a moment too long. Another time, a cloaked figure was seen leaving the mansion late at night, disappearing into the foggy streets. These encounters intensified the air of suspicion and danger. The subtle power plays among family members and associates grew more sinister. Each interaction felt loaded with hidden meaning, each smile concealing a knife. Behind the luxurious facade of the mansion, alliances were shifting and loyalties were being tested. The community watched with bated breath as events seemed to conspire against the couple, leading them towards an inevitable confrontation. As the tensions escalated, the bride found herself increasingly isolated. The secrets she uncovered threatened to unravel her understanding of the man she thought she loved, and the safe world she hoped to build. She realized that every door she opened led to more questions and danger. The stage was set for a tragic night where the fractures in their relationship would be violently exposed. The seeds of doubt and mistrust had been sown. Each day brought new revelations and mounting fear, hinting at the coming storm. The tension in the mansion was palpable, and it was clear that nothing would ever be the same once the secrets were fully revealed. The night that changed everything was cloaked in darkness and tension, as the summer air hung heavy with foreboding over the mansion. The events that unfolded were a culmination of weeks of building suspense, secrets, and the whispered fears that permeated every corner of the Sheikh's estate. It was a particularly stormy evening, the kind where even the bravest souls felt an unsettling chill. The young bride, now deeply entangled in a web of fear and secrets, sensed that something was terribly wrong. The corridors seemed to stretch endlessly, their ornate decorations casting twisted shadows that played tricks on her mind. As she moved through the hushed halls, the sound of distant thunder mingled with the echo of her footsteps. She found herself drawn to the source of a faint whispering coming from a locked room at the end of a corridor. Her heart pounded in her chest as she realized that the secrets she had uncovered were leading her straight into the jaws of danger. Meanwhile, the Sheikh was grappling with his own demons. He stood alone in his study, the only light coming from a flickering lamp that cast trembling shadows on the walls. He was reading through old correspondences that hinted at betrayals from long ago, a past filled with dangerous liaisons that had followed him across continents. The weight of these revelations bore down on him like a physical force. As the storm raged outside, a masked figure slipped through the estate's grounds, moving with silent precision. The intruder's motives were unclear, but his presence was a harbinger of the violence to come. The fatal confrontation began unexpectedly. In a chamber adorned with intricate mosaics and dark wood paneling, the bride came face to face with one of the mansion's most trusted servants, who revealed a shocking betrayal. It turned out that the servant had been orchestrating a scheme influenced by old grudges and a thirst for vengeance. His words dripped with malice as he confronted the young bride, accusing her of being a pawn in a larger scheme meant to ruin the Sheikh. The tension erupted into violence. A struggle ensued, with the sound of shattered glass and muffled cries echoing through the halls. The ornate chamber became a battleground, its grandeur marred by the chaos of the conflict. In the midst of the turmoil, the Sheikh received a chilling call on his secure line, alerting him that something terrible was happening within his home. His face, illuminated by the flickering light of his study lamp, was a mask of horror. He raced towards the commotion, his heart pounding as he realized that he might be too late to save those he cared about. However, fate had conspired against him. By the time he arrived, the tragic event had unfolded. The bride lay motionless on the marble floor, her once bright eyes now void of life. The servant, bloodied and desperate, vanished into the night, leaving behind a scene of unimaginable horror. The mansion, filled with opulence and secrets, now bore the scars of violence. The storm outside continued to rage, as if mourning the loss that had taken place within. The Sheikh, overcome with grief and rage, stood over the scene, his mind racing to comprehend the betrayal and violence that had shattered his world. In the immediate aftermath of the fatal night, the once secluded mansion became a grim tableau of tragedy. The news spread like wildfire throughout the community, sending ripples of shock and fear through the once peaceful suburb. Whispers of betrayal, revenge, and dark secrets grew louder as the residents tried to piece together what had happened. As investigators arrived at the scene, the echoes of the night's horrors lingered in the air. The tragic confrontation was only the beginning of a much deeper investigation into the dark underbelly of the Sheikh's world, a web of deceit, manipulation, and revenge that stretched far beyond a single night of violence. The fatal night served as a catalyst, thrusting everyone into a nightmare where truths were murky and trust was a luxury no one could afford. The community braced itself for the unraveling of secrets that would follow, as the true nature of the revenge and betrayal would soon come to light. In the aftermath of that fateful night, the quiet suburb of Greenville was transformed into a hive of whispered theories and restless anticipation. The police cordoned off the mansion, its grandeur now marred by yellow tape and flashing red and blue lights. A team of seasoned detectives stepped into this labyrinth of wealth and secrecy, determined to uncover the truth behind the tragic death. Detective Laura Bennett, a seasoned investigator known for her sharp mind and unyielding pursuit of truth, was assigned to the case. She had a keen eye for detail and a reputation for solving the most complex puzzles. Standing in the dimly lit grand hall, she took in the scene: shattered glass scattered across pristine marble floors, bloodstains on elegant carpets, and clues that whispered of betrayal and a hidden agenda. Her team began methodically combing through evidence. Forensic experts dusted for fingerprints on broken objects, while crime scene photographers captured every detail with meticulous precision. Each shard of glass, each misplaced piece of furniture, could hold the key to unlocking the dark secrets that had led to the fatal night. As Detective Bennett interviewed staff, neighbors, and acquaintances, she uncovered a tangled web of motives and red herrings. Every person she spoke with had a piece of the puzzle, but also their own secrets. The Sheikh's business associates were evasive, speaking in guarded tones about threats from unknown adversaries. The local journalist, once eager to sensationalize the story, now acted as an informant, sharing whispers of a conspiracy that involved multiple parties. The investigation was riddled with twists. The encrypted letters discovered by the bride led to dead ends and false leads, each more convoluted than the last. Suspicion shifted from one suspect to another: the rival business partner with a grudge, the family member with a hidden agenda, and even the mysterious masked figure seen on the property that night. Bennett knew that the key to solving the case lay in understanding the long history of grudges and alliances that had brought the Sheikh and his bride to such a violent end. She pored over old records and family histories, discovering that the Sheikh had been entangled in disputes that spanned decades, and that his marriage might have been a pawn in a much larger scheme. Late one night, as she sat alone in her temporary office piled high with case files and clues, a breakthrough came in the form of an overlooked piece of evidence, a cryptic note found hidden behind a painting in the mansion. The note hinted at a long-standing vendetta, with details of a planned revenge that spanned years. This revelation provided a vital link connecting the tragedy of that night to a series of events that occurred long before the Sheikh's arrival in America. Armed with this new lead, Detective Bennett organized a team to revisit key scenes of the mansion. They combed through hidden corridors, secret rooms, and private diaries that painted a picture of betrayal, manipulation, and simmering anger. The investigation revealed that the betrayal was not just isolated to the servant but was part of a far-reaching conspiracy designed to exact revenge on the Sheikh. As the detectives pieced together the clues, they began to see a web of interconnected motives, each thread leading back to the Sheikh's past decisions and alliances. The revelation of how deeply ingrained these secrets were in the community sent shockwaves through the investigators, and the pressure mounted to solve the case before more lives were at risk. The investigation was far from over, but Detective Bennett could sense that they were closing in on the truth. The shadows that haunted the grand mansion were beginning to lift, revealing a tangled history of revenge that tied together not only the crime but also the lives of everyone involved. Each revelation brought new questions: who orchestrated the betrayal? What was the true motive behind the violent confrontation? And who, hidden behind layers of deceit, would be the next target? In the weeks following the discovery of the cryptic note, the investigation reached a fever pitch. As Detective Bennett followed the trail of revenge, she uncovered a diabolical plot that stretched far beyond the boundaries of the Sheikh's mansion and the community of Greenville. It became clear that the servant, once believed to be a lone wolf driven by personal vendetta, was merely a pawn. The true architect of this tragic revenge was someone who had harbored a bitter grudge against the Sheikh for years, a family member ostracized by the Sheikh's rise to power, seeking retribution for a perceived betrayal. The revelation hit the community like a tidal wave. The investigation had uncovered that the revenge was not a spur-of-the-moment act but the calculated culmination of decades of planning and manipulation. With this newfound clarity, Detective Bennett managed to trace the conspiracy back to a remote location in the outskirts of town, a place where the final pieces of the puzzle came together. In a tense confrontation that unfolded in the shadow of the old family estate, Bennett confronted the mastermind behind the scheme. The air was thick with tension as accusations were exchanged in a claustrophobic, candlelit room filled with antique furniture and haunting portraits. The mastermind, a character driven by twisted loyalty to their family's honor, revealed the depth of their anguish. They felt betrayed not only by the Sheikh but by a world that had left them destitute and forgotten. The climax of the confrontation was fraught with danger as the mastermind attempted to exact one final act of vengeance, one that could endanger Detective Bennett and anyone else present. But Bennett, prepared for the unexpected, managed to subdue the perpetrator in a tense standoff that left everyone breathless. The arrest closed a grim chapter, but the shockwaves of the tragedy would echo through Greenville for years to come. In the aftermath, the community grappled with the revelation of such a dark conspiracy hidden beneath the veneer of wealth and glamour. The Sheikh, now bereft of his bride and haunted by betrayal, retreated from public life, his dreams of an idyllic American family shattered. His story became a cautionary tale about the dangers of secrets and the destructive power of revenge. Detective Bennett reflected on the case as she closed her file, aware that the scars of this tragedy would remain long after the arrests and confessions. The investigation had revealed the complexity of human emotions and the lengths some will go for revenge, leaving her with a lingering sense of melancholy. As Greenville slowly returned to a fragile sense of normalcy, residents whispered about the dark legacy that had briefly come to light, the tragic revenge that ended in blood and betrayal. The story of the Dubai Sheikh and his young Indian bride became a chilling tale passed down through hushed conversations, a stark reminder that beneath the surface of even the most idyllic communities, secrets lurked ready to erupt. Though the case was solved, Detective Bennett knew that in the world of true crime, some mysteries lingered just beneath the surface, waiting for the next unsuspecting soul to stumble into a web of deception and revenge.